Want to go deeper with Lobbing Scorchers? You know, scratch under the surface, get down even dirtier than we already get? Become a YouTube member. Sometimes things just get a little too spicy, a little too weird, and a little too loose for the general public. And you know, the people to see that are YouTube members. We're talking about exclusive bonus videos, the podcast after show, exclusive written content, and little bits and pieces of information before the unwashed masses know about it. As a member, you not only get access to all of this amazing content, you get a badge next to your name and a slew of amazing emotes to use, not only in our live stream chat, but also in our comment section. And yes, we do have an emote for Jesus Ferreira, Go Snack, and Paul Rothrock. This is the best way to help keep us independent and keep us building out this crazy YouTube brand that we call Lobbing Scorchers. Hit the join button down below or hit the link in the top of our description if you're on mobile to join the ranks and become a Lobbing Scorchers YouTube member.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of Lobbing Scorchers Kickoff. I'm Ari. That's Nico. We got a big show for you all planned here this morning. We're going to be talking some Seattle Sounders, another blown lead, and a couple more injuries to talk about against the Vancouver Whitecaps. We'll be previewing their next match, which is another Cascadia derby against the Portland Timbies, and maybe a couple other headlines from the scores around Major League Soccer. Nico, thanks for hopping on this morning. As always, how are you doing after a 2-2 draw against the Vancouver Whitecaps that also saw Alex Roldan and Yamar exit early with injuries?
Yeah, it was a difficult one to decipher in general senses. I have mixed feelings, like Brian said, about this whole game, right? When it comes to the draw, I kind of felt like that was, in my book, a good result, right? I know that you're at home. I know that everybody wants to win, but to me, this was a game that essentially I had as a draw. After Friday and going over the players that would be coming back for Vancouver Whitecaps, kind of how they, in their stylistic plays, they kind of counter each other a little bit. I actually thought it was going to be a 1-1. But in terms of the play, I mean, it was really hard to kind of break it down. I watched it again last night, a second time, because the first half is almost a wash because there was so much. The two injuries, as early as they were, both, before the 15-minute mark, they leave the team very disjointed. And Seattle has a real hard time with just even basic passing patterns, getting to certain balls. I thought that they were a little bit lucky to not concede a goal in those first 45, and that's credit to Steph. It's credit to Christian Roldan that he was a boss out there. He was probably the most effective guy defensively in that midfield. Just picking up so many balls, just closing down on so many players. It was nice to see Jordan back as a starter. I did not have that in my notes, to be quite frank. I was a little bit surprised that it was Jordan who got the go in this one. I was even more surprised to hear from Brian that he was going to leave him longer, that if it wasn't because he had to make a substitution there at halftime, he was planning to leave Jordan Morris a little bit longer. So look, I think that the team responded to the moments. It was without a doubt a difficult game when your best center back and kind of the lead defender center back for that backing group goes out, when Alex Roldan, a guy that this year has been so important for getting forward, his overloads, the type of offense he provides, the services in the box, and as much as Kalani has done well when he's came on, I've always said that you do lack a little bit of that service. You lack a little bit of that pedigree of just certain moments, certain decision-making part of what Alex Roldan does for this team. But I thought that they responded well to getting scored on once again, an easy turnover. I think that is credit to Andres Cubas that kind of surprises Burnell, and I don't think he expected him to close him down that quickly. He gives up the ball. He thinks maybe there's a foul. The back line's a little bit out of sorts. Jackson's on the wrong side of the ball. So it's a very easy through ball for Thomas Mueller to just play in Brian White, who had just came into the game, and he puts it away, right? So I thought that moment could have created a ripple effect to just take the team down, but the response was almost immediate, and it was great. The fact that Jackson Reagan gets that boss of a header on a good set piece. We've talked about how Seattle needs to be better in set pieces, so that part is good. And then the second goal was a very Seattle Sounder type of goal where Paul Rothrock, you got to give him credit for the way he just attacks space. A lot of times he attacks space with the ball, just so much energy, sees Jesus Ferreira making a very good run. Jesus picks it up well, makes the cutback pass, and you go up to 1, right? So I think that there were a lot of good moments in this game. So the mixed feelings are a little bit in terms of just the injuries and what those may mean for the near future and even farther than that.
Folks, before we keep rolling here this morning, if everyone who's watching could please like the video, sub to the channel, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok, that would be much appreciated. For me watching this game, Nico, I'm kind of looking at the level of footy over results at this point. Finishing in the top 4 feels kind of like a tall order. But there was some good stuff in this game. I really liked the sequence after Vancouver scored the first goal. The response was really good. They do get 2 goals. It was good to see Albert Rusnak back out there. He gets a goal and an assist. Like you mentioned, the assist comes off the set piece. But there's still the feeling, I think, especially with these injuries, isn't there sort of like prevailing feeling right now that how do I put this? The fuel tank does not have a lot of gas in it, just in general. Like, I think we were watching kind of 2 teams, frankly, that were afflicted by that. They have had a hangover issue of their own this year, dating back to their run in CONCACAF Champions Cup. They kind of came out of it, but it took them a while. It took them most of the middle part of the season to kind of get back close to the level that they were at earlier in the season. It also took them signing Thomas Mueller to kind of give them a boost and stuff. Seattle, I mean, it's not a hangover watch at this point. This team has been hungover since Leagues Cup. It's self-admitted at this point. And when you see 2 more guys go down with muscle injuries in the first 10 minutes of the game, it just kind of underscores that even more. But at the same time, you got guys coming back in Albert Rusnak and Jordan Morris, who they shouldn't be hungover. They weren't playing in Leagues Cup. Rusnak didn't look hungover. Jordan looks like he's still working his fitness and his sharpness back up, but he shouldn't be hungover in the way that maybe the rest of the guys on the team are. Snyder Brunell, who had the first giveaway on that first goal, he shouldn't be hungover. He just started playing just now. So there's some of the bad stuff that happened in this game. I guess what I'm saying is, it kind of stayed with themes that we've seen this year in terms of the footy and attack being at a pretty good level, but then just the goals that they're taking are ill-timed and unnecessary and costing them points. And I mean, it's unfortunate because based on the level of footy this year, I feel pretty strongly that they should be in the top 4, home field advantage in the playoffs. They should at least be in better position for that than they are now. But if you just look at the table and how LAFC is doing, and just how the top 4 is kind of taking shape, this team's not going to have home field advantage in the playoffs this year in all likelihood. But I've kind of come to a place, Nico, where home field advantage, take it or leave it. Playoffs, it's going to be tough either way. It was always going to be tough either way, contending with trying to play at the requisite level for playoff success while having just done this really long, really draining, physically and emotionally draining Leagues Cup run. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But again, it just, like, seeing those injuries, I'm like, this team looks like it's just a little out of gas right now. Do you get the same sense, or do you feel like it's more that these are afflictions that would have happened regardless of the League's Cup run?
No, there's definitely physical fatigue that is noticeable, that is undeniable. Uh, I think that this also kind of falls in a perfect storm of things as well, because you have some absences because of the international turnaround, right? You not having Obed. I mean, you missed them like plants miss water. I mean, it was one of those games that, as much as Brunel is a very high Q player and he does things well, he just can't replicate a lot of the things that Obed does, specifically on the ball. I think that Obed has done such a good job at growing into this additional attacker out of that midfield, and a player that with the ball breaks lines consistently, dribbling through, making himself available, making those runs inside the 18 when he needs to, being a goal scorer for this team. And that's just not necessarily Brunel's attributes. That's not necessarily what he brings to the table, and you miss that consistently, especially in a game like this one, where once again, Vancouver is a very good team. Vancouver could easily be the best team in the West when it's all said and done, in terms of the table, in terms of what they've been able to do, or the entirety of the season. They're still in the Shield race. I mean, this is a team that has been excellent, right? And that's why I don't have such a hard time with the result per se. Is just kind of how it happened and all of the additional things to it. Because to what you mentioned, the Sounders lost their opportunity to host against LA at home, right? And against teams that are not better than they are. Those are the games that you wish you would have back. That LA game, that Austin game, you should have had. The Miami game,
the Colorado game, the Charlotte game, the Atlanta game. You can go down the list of the games that they could have. They could have, if they had just maintained a few of those points, this result wouldn't have hurt their drive for top four that much. But unfortunately,
because this is a great team. Look, Jasper Sorensen is such a good coach. He set the team up very well against the Sounders. And again, the first 45 is a wash because of the injuries, but either of, you could tell that Jasper wanted more out of that team to just get a goal in the first 45, because he set it up perfectly. Obviously, when he brings in Jed and Daniel and he brings in Berhalter, the team gets another boost as well. And Seattle did well. I mean, they managed that well. Jaden Nelson's a player that is so shifty, so quick, so explosive. I was surprised that not surprised. I was impressed by how Seattle handled him entering into the game and Berhalter entering into the game. So that's why it's so many different feelings, right? Because there is a little bit of a sense in moments of that game that you saw the old Sounders. I don't want to call it the old Sounders, but the Sounders that have been so impressive so many times, right? This year, right? They had the right attitude. They had the intensity. They connected well. They moved excellent on the field. But those moments just need to be a 90-minute game for you to be a real contender in the West.
Yeah, I guess if there's a positive from these last two games, first against at Austin and then against Vancouver, it's that there have been. I'd be more concerned if there was just no semblance of the team that we saw earlier this year and in Leagues Cup. But you really have, you've seen sequences of it. It just hasn't been consistent, like you mentioned. I thought the whole period of the game after Brian White's opening goal was really good. Like when you sometimes you're going to get scored on first, and it's about how you respond in those situations. I thought the response was great. They get a set piece goal. It was good to see Jackson Reagan get on the score sheet. We talked about how we want to see him contribute more in that area of the game. So to see him get up in the box, win his header and score was great. The delivery from Rusnak was great. So that was a good, encouraging goal to see. I really liked the second goal was a fun little moment. Rusnak scoring in his return, I guess, first start back. He had played before, right? Yeah. But It's his first start back. He gets a goal. He was pumped up. So that's all well and good. But I mean, I don't know. I was talking about in the post game, but like when they went up a goal, was there any part of you that was like they're gonna hold this lead? Like I don't think anyone felt like they were gonna hold the lead.
No,
I
kind of
like that's kind of I think to have any success in the playoffs, you got to be able to, when you go up a goal, have confidence and have the belief that you're going to be able to hold the lead. It's just been an issue with this team all season, and I would say historically, one thing that I've appreciated about the Brian Schmetzer Sounders in his overall tenure as the head coach of this team is that his teams normally do have like a lot of mental fortitude in those situations, and they're pretty good about like if they have 1-goal lead in the second half, they can see it out and maintain the lead in a way that they just this year in pretty much every scenario outside of Leagues Cup, where it's like, why can't you guys just play like that all the time? In Leagues Cup, when they went up, I was like, all right, it's dusted. I guess you have to put them in a tournament for them to feel confident that they're gonna hold the lead. But it was just like as soon as Vancouver's equalizer went in, it was like, yep. I mean, that was coming. We all knew it was going to happen. So let's just get it out of the way. They're not going to lose the game, but it would have been too much to ask for them to hold out the 2-1. But there was some good stuff. Nico,
I didn't expect Laborda to just beast Jackson like that. It was kind of back and forth, right? Because Jackson dunks on Laborda first, for the first goal, and then Laborda kind of does it back. But not ideal at all, right? The guy that's 6'6" should not be allowing that to happen necessarily. I think he got caught a little flat-footed.
It was a good header.
It was a good header, no, for sure. It's the positioning that I have an issue with. I feel like he should have never been able to get there. But again, you're absolutely right in terms that we are seeing like small parts of what makes this team great. Now, there are things that I don't know how much I love. I understand that there were 2 substitutions that you were not planning for early in that game.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, but for me, I thought that this game would have been it could have used Pedro de la Vega. And Brian ups out for playing a 4-4-2 that I don't particularly love. I think that there wasn't a lot of effectiveness. Now, to what Brian said, it was very short-lived. There wasn't enough time to really see what the 4-4-2 looks like. But to me, the idea of taking out any of the talented midfielders or wingers to bring in a second striker, regardless of who that is, doesn't sit well with me. Like taking out Paul or Ferreira or pushing back Albert a line a little bit farther from goal to bring in a guy like Osase. I just feel like having another creator, another guy 1v1 that's going to come in and take advantage of tired legs would have been in some ways more influential than when Osase came on to the field, because you are depending on services that are not really coming in. You are depending on him, getting back and maybe being pivoting and helping out with a little bit of that hold up play, but this game didn't necessarily call for it. I mean, you're hoping that he gets on a header, I'm guessing, and that could be a thing. But Brian said he's going to continue to roll the 4-4-2, and I don't love it, Ari. I don't know about you, but I just don't know if that's the way I would chase a game. In this one particularly, like I said, I think bringing in Pedro, would have been more interesting than what we saw out of Osasa coming in.
All right, yeah. Well, let's talk about De La Vega. What's going on with him, Nico? I don't understand. He's been not playing. He hasn't been playing in the games, and to the best I can tell, that's because of this knee tendonitis issue that he's been having. But he's been training. You've been out at training. You and Jo have both been watching him train, and apparently he looks great. He looks like he has all season. And then you get to game day and he's in the match day squad and you're like, oh, okay. All right. Pedro de la Vega, going to watch him play some soccer today. Let's go. And then they play the games and then he doesn't play at all. And they haven't taken very good results in that time. And it's hard not to watch that and be like, well, if your $7 million designated player who's been one of the best players in the league for a lengthy portions of the season, MVP of Leagues Cup. That might help the situation. I think the level offensively has been good the last couple games, but 3 goals in that time. Maybe you have more if you have De La Vega playing. But then I think you asked Schmetz about it after the game, and I just didn't understand his answer. He was saying that the reason that he didn't bring De La Vega in was because of the two first half injuries, like changed his substitution patterns, and then he kind of just said that like it was like, well, yeah, we had the 2 injuries early, so I couldn't bring him in. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, that's his answer. And then I was just sitting there thinking about it. I was like, that you could have still brought him in. Like if like why would that preclude you from bringing him in the game because you had 2 guys go out early? You brought Moose in the game. You brought Osaze in the game. What is the connection between those injuries and substitutions, and then specifically not bringing De La Vega on when you brought 2 other attacking players on? I just am I missing something there? Like,
no,
why what is the relationship between those 2 things? And then also, why isn't he playing? Is it just because of the tendonitis and they don't want to risk it? But then why is he in the matchday squad? What's going on, Nico, with De La Vega? Tell us what's going on.
Look, honestly, everything that we continue to ask leads us to not be concerned about him physically. That for all accounts, he should be able to play. But we see, as you mentioned, the inactivity is clear, and you can make all kinds of, not excuses, but you can give me reasoning behind it. In this one, I didn't ask. I ended up asking about the 4-4-2 at the end, just because I knew that that's what he was going to answer if I asked, well, why didn't you bring him in? Regardless of, I think he wanted to see this 4-4-2. He wants to continue see it out, and that's why he opts out. From instead of bringing in Pedro, he brings in Osaze. So that's why I kind of talked about. I just don't know if that's effective. I don't know if that's the best use of this team's strength. To me, the strength of this team are those wingers, are that midfield, are those creative players, and not necessarily, bringing in and playing with 2 strikers. I don't see it working as well as he does, and obviously he's the coach, and obviously he sees things that I don't. But in the 10 minutes you call it that it was out there, I didn't think it looked particularly great. Again, there was 2 things that I had an issue with. It was how late the last 2 subs came on. I mean, it was the 82nd minute that you brought those guys on. But obviously you're trying to respond to a game where maybe you're trying to hold on to the lead because you've had some really bad circumstances happen in these sort of situations late in games. So maybe you're just letting the team play out. But I thought Schneider Burnell was starting to show a lot of fatigue, and I don't know if he ever was able to brush off the mistake that led to the goal. He definitely dimmed down substantially after that mistake, and I think he was just needed to be subbed out a little bit sooner. He does take him out, but again, waits until the 82nd minute, and it just takes a while for those players coming in to kind of make an impact. I thought Georgie was good. I thought Georgie would have been good. I would have been happy with Georgie and Pedro coming in at the same time. Have both of those guys. I feel like those are the guys that I want chasing the game, right? They're going to create so many opportunities. They're going to create havoc. They're going to put the ball inside the 18. They're going to be able to shoot, Georgie, time and time again, has been a player that cuts inside, takes those good shots, has had a goal in those sort of instances. So for me, both of those guys would have been better options, in my humble opinion, of course, than just bringing Osaze. So to your question, it doesn't sound like there's anything wrong with Pedro, but there's clearly a lack of confidence from Brian in bringing him in. So I can't tell you that I know anything else. And again, he's been training all week. If Pedro had not been training as consistently as he has,
training and not in the match day squads, that would be one thing. I'd be like, okay, he's injured. Okay,
exactly. But that's not the case.
That's not the case. He's in training, looking like a demigod in the match day squads, ostensibly able to play professional soccer. And then they play the game. And you get to the end of it, and he didn't play. And it's hard not to feel like, man, maybe if he had played, he could have positively contributed to the team's collective goals in a similar way that he had a couple weeks ago when he was a big reason that you won a major tournament against Lionel Messi, you know? So I feel like this has happened before where there's some sort of inclination for Schmetz to want to try and get a two striker setup going, and they like run a little 4-4-2, and it then doesn't work that well, and then he just goes back to the 4-2-3-1. That might be what's happening here.
You're right.
But like I guess it feels like kind of late in the season to be running experimental formations and like trying to find out if you can run two strikers, whether it's Moose and Jordan or Osaze and Moose or whatever. I mean, if they want to try and hone a different look before the playoffs, more power to them. I would just figure that De La Vega could or would be involved in that to some extent. He should be playing for this team. I don't see, if he had been in bad form all year and hadn't earned his minutes, that would be another thing as well. But it's the opposite of that. He's like very much earned a status as one of the best players on this team. So it's just kind of, I mean, do you think he's going to play against the Timbies? I kind of don't think he's going to play against the Timbies based on how it's been going recently, but I hope he does. What do you think?
Yeah, I would hope that he does. I think that, the question for me this week is going to be, how concerned are you of the inactivity of regular competitive minutes for Pedro? So if you do need him, and let's say you do bring him on, let's say that you do start him against the Timbies in a Classico game that you need the win, that you could probably use to shake off the rust that you kind of currently have after all these negative results. But what if he doesn't play well? I mean, could you blame that he just got cold? Because he was on a heater, right? He was playing so well. He was a guy that was so influential.
He looked like one of the best players in the league.
So do you cool him down because of it? So those are the things where if there's truly no concern for him physically, then why is he not playing? You need to bring him onto the game. He needs to build, either keep that confidence or build the confidence or rebuild it. I don't know. So I'm very concerned about what we'll see when you do start him after having, I don't know, it's probably 4 or 5 games that he hasn't played.
I mean, yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it, but I know basically since Leagues Cup, he hasn't really been playing. I thought it was a tendonitis situation, but Schmetz said that was like a pain tolerance, that wasn't supposed to be something that meant that he was going to have to sit out games.
Bro, and look, the other thing, Ari, is that he got a cortisone shot.
Yeah,
usually you put those on so you play him, right? And
to help the pain tolerance, and
help the pain tolerance, right? Get you back in.
How long does cortisone take to take effect? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but they injected that knee, and he was supposed to be able to play on it. So it just feels like there's a disconnect between like the reasoning being given why he hasn't been playing, and then the actual reasoning why he hasn't been playing. But I mean, I just think in general, if there's any hope that this team has of making a credible playoff run, especially if they're going to have to do it all on the road, which it looks like they will, a lot of that would be predicated on De La Vega playing like he did in Leagues Cup. He's the main guy on this team that I trust to, if there's a situation where it's a tight game and you need a goal to either find a leveler or a go-ahead goal, and maybe things aren't going that well, or you're playing against a really good defensive team. He's the guy I trust that can pull out a goal at absolutely any moment, more than anyone on this team. He needs to be out there if this team's going to hit its ceiling. That's just the reality. So let's hope that he plays this weekend. I can't say that I feel that good about that, but who knows? Maybe there's a reason behind it that makes sense, and he's going to be ready to go on the weekend for this Portland game, and then he gets locked in for the playoffs, and he spearheads a MLS Cup run and leads the Seattle Sounders to another trophy. We can hope. As for these, go ahead.
I guess the one thing that we haven't talked about, and I mean, we won't spend too much time into it either. I like what Nuhu did in the game. I thought that he was very good defensively. I think that he pushed forward pretty consistently. I thought that he created good moments. But once again, he gets a silly yellow there in the corner.
When he did that, I was just like, "Oh my god, he's gonna get sent off! Like, he's gonna get sent off for chirping someone in the tunnel, isn't he?" And Jackson got an early yellow in this game too, didn't he? And then Nuhu gets the silly yellow in the tunnel. Thomas Mueller was like trying to get him sent off right there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he sprays him with the water or something. I don't know who it is that he sprays. He was arguing with Jesus. So
do you guys want to finish the game with 11 men? Do you actively want and seek out situations to try and finish it with 10? Is that a club-wide objective? Like, God, I don't know. That was just like, dude.
And I only bring it up because this is the moments where, especially right now with both of those injuries that we can talk about here in a second, if you're missing players, that sort of situation is just terrible, right? Because if you're suspended because of yellow accumulations, or you get suspended because you get a double yellow on a silly moment like that, I mean, you just can't do that, right? So again, it's the good with the bad with Nuhu. I still think that
he didn't get sent off. He didn't get
sent off, and he actually played very well
with all 11 men. Congratulations to the Seattle Sounders. They once again made it through an entire match without anyone getting ejected. They got kind of close in this game, but it was better than the last time they played Vancouver in Vancouver, when they famously, as we all remember fondly, got 2 red cards in 3 minutes, with Nuhu getting one of those. So they did not do that, but that was just one of those things where I was like, oh my God, like, here we go, here come the crash out red card boys. But they didn't do it. They didn't do it. No one crashed out. It was just a little squirt of the water bottle in the direction of a Vancouver Whitecap, little yellow card in the tunnel, and it was fine. But
no, because he was physical out there. I mean, Paul Rothrock and Elliot Ocampo were going at it all game long, or pushing each other, talking mess to each other. I mean, that battle was very fun to watch, but it got physical there for a little bit. I thought that Paul was going to hit somebody.
Yeah. As for these Alex Roldan and Yamar injuries, it looked like a groin for Alex. It looked like a hamstring for Yamar. I mean, have you heard anything as to severity or timelines at all yet? I mean, I'm sure Schmetz is going to talk probably tomorrow and maybe have some more info on that. But do you get any initial sense on what we're looking? I mean, to me, it looked like probably in that 2 to 4 week area for both of them, but it could be worse than that. Who knows? We'll find out. But like, do you have any sense on that? And then also, who do you think are the guys that are going to be tasked with stepping up with those guys? I mean, you got to assume that basically until playoffs, you're probably not going to have either one of those guys.
Yeah, I picked up something as I waited for Andres Cubas for an interview that I had with him. And, you're kind of there in the back door in the little hallway by the visiting locker room. And I thought I heard somebody say that it was a quad for Yamar, which is, he's been dealing with a quad thing. And by the way he came off the field, because I know that he'd been dealing with that quad, and it's been an injury that maybe got a little bit worse. I hope that it's not a long time, but the 2 to 4 sound about right. That sounds like best case scenario for the Yamar injury, and then the adductor for Alex is tricky. Those adductor injuries are difficult to rehab quickly, because everything that you do comes out of there, right? The passing, the shooting, the explosiveness, the running, the stretching, and it's a lot more painful that you could think of. The swelling happens pretty quickly. So my guess is that we probably won't even know anything by tomorrow. If there's going to be any sort of scan or anything like that to look into the tear a little bit deeper, you probably wait till Wednesday maybe, because you do need the swelling to go down. So it'll be interesting what happens with both of these guys. But my guess would be that best case scenario, you're dealing without either of or both of these guys until about the game at Giant Stadium, the away game for the last game of the season, the regular season, and
That's
and
at the Giant. That's at the Giant Stadium. Why is that at the Giant Stadium?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Yankees.
Okay. I was like, they don't play at the Giant Stadium. They play in the New York Yankees outfield.
My bad.
MetLife in New Jersey. That actually could. They played like Copa matches there or something. So
my bad. I saw something that came across my feed, and I thought Giants because there's an injury for a Giants player that he's out for the year. So Malik Neighbors. But anyways, going back to the whole thing, these are two very serious absences for the team, right? I mean, the importance of Yemer. Look, Kim did fine, and Kim can hold the fort, but again, he just doesn't have that.
Big loss.
Yeah, it's a downgrade, and that's no disrespect to Kim, but there's obviously a downgrade in the speed category, in the
and
athleticism,
just
the physicalness,
the leadership. I think like Yemer is he keeps it all glued back there in a way that I think we don't really appreciate until he's out. And this team's had some defensive issues this year, I think, no matter who's back there. So Yemer being out doesn't make it any easier. And, Alex has been a key player for this team this year, too, in kind of an underrated way. He's been in really good form. He and KKR had a good battle going. So it's two pretty big losses. It's not great, especially when you also don't have De La Vega playing. But, it is opportunity for Kim, and I imagine. Do you see it any differently other than KKR being the one to predominantly fill in as the starter for right back there?
No, I think it's going to be KKR and it's going to be Kim. It's not going to be Jay Bell. Maybe you'll see moments where if Seattle wants to dabble with the 3-5-2, if they continue to look for that, two-man attacking system, maybe that adds a Jay Bell in there somehow, some way. But no, I think that is very clear that is going to be Kalani player for player with Alex, and then Kim with Yemer. And then you got to hope that it's not any longer than that, right? I mean, just imagine the first game of the playoffs without either of those guys. I mean, that's difficult. It couldn't have happened for a worse position necessarily, because they depend so much on both of those guys, right? Alex isn't just a player that defensively does a lot for this team, but is the attacking end, right? In the build-up of this team, he's usually the widest guy on the right, allowing Ferreira to come inside in those inside channels from the winger position. So he's the one getting to the end line. He's the one creating that width. He's the one putting the services into the 18. So it's a lot to ask for Kalani, who, like I've said it time and time again, I've been very high on. I've always been high on the player, but his inexperience has shown several times in this bad stretch of games, and the lack of awareness and communication and things like that could be detrimental in a playoff game against a good team. Call it Minnesota, call it San Diego. I mean, it doesn't matter. That those teams are gonna eat you up if you are not playing with the best of the best.
KKR is a lot of fun in attack. He's more likely, I think, to get a goal for you than Alex Roldan. But I think the give and take there is Alex Roldan's. He's been, I think, one of the better fullbacks defensively in the league for a lot of this season. I think what he provides there has been, like I said, an underrated attribute that has helped this team a lot this season. He was on fire in Leagues Cup. So KKR can hold it down, but it's just having two injuries on the back line right before playoffs. It's just not optimum, especially when you've shown very little propensity for being able to hold leads anyway. I got one from chat from earlier for you, Nico. Going to kick this one to you. Ryan Shane asks, off topic, but does the roster calculus regarding Ryan Kent change with the $1 million in GAM rolling over to next season?
That's a great question. Maybe it does, but I think that there's going to be conversations about the number he's on. I don't think Seattle picks up the option. I still don't, even with that on. I think that it's very hard to assess a player with such little data, and you might not get him back. Maybe you'll get him back for a game or so, but there's just not enough there. And I feel like right now, with the amount of wingers, hoping that you get this Paul Rothrock deal done, which I would think that you're going to get it done. I would feel positive that you get it done. I think that there's a lot of other players there that it would be hard for the sense of the roster to make it reasonable to spend that much money. Let's call it, $1 million or I don't know, 900, let's call it. It would be really, really difficult for you to bring that player back on that number if that is the case. With the injury, with the fact that you haven't seen a lot of out of him, the only reason why you might, I don't know, pick up his option is maybe you think that you could move him on, trade him, and get something for him. But I don't see it. Everything that I feel like right now calculates into the roster build for next year. I don't have Ryan Kent in those calculations at all.
Yeah, I kind of agree that that's the most likely outcome. The story of Ryan Kent this year is honestly kind of a tragic one. It started off so electric. He looked like the greatest player to grace Major League Soccer in generations, and then cooled down a little bit. It did not stay that hot. But I swear, Nico, he was just heating up again. I'm telling you, he was just about to recapture those heights. He had like that a really nice assist early in Leagues Cup, and I was like, all right, that's the Ryan Kent that we saw lighting the league on fire against St. Louis City SC and the Houston Dynamo. In hindsight, maybe got a little bit ahead of ourselves on that.
No, he looked great.
He did look insane. Like, I will always stand by that. People give us like a little bit of a bantery hard time sometimes because those first couple games we were driving the hype train. But I will stand by that until the day I die, that he was about to light this league on fire, and then he got injured. And he admittedly after the first two games, the set of games after that, it was not as hot. It was not as hot, but it was heating back up. And injury took that away from us. And I mean, I agree. It's kind of hard to, just with where the roster's at numbers wise, especially in that position group, it's kind of hard to see a scenario where he would be back. I don't think it's impossible, but I'm certainly not expecting it. Nico, I was going to.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's impossible either. But I think that it would take some real doing and maybe a little bit of a discount to bring him on, and that would take changing a new contract. It would just take a lot of things that I don't know if the player be willing to just say, hey, yeah, well, I really like it in Seattle, so I'm gonna lose on some money that I could probably get elsewhere.
That's the one hope, is he's like, man, I came here to rediscover my love of the game, and I've rediscovered that here. And because of that, I feel a loyalty to the club and to the city, and I will stay for not a lot of money. It's like, why would he do that? He's the type of player who could make a lot more money probably playing in a lot of other leagues. So when you're in that situation and you have like a finite amount of time to maximize your earning potential like these guys do, when push comes to shove, they're usually not going to take a pay cut like that. Nor should they. Like, you kind of got to make as much money as you can while you're physically able to play at the level that he's playing at. So that's just kind of
and I mean, you look at Ferreira's a player that we didn't think was going to be in that position, but he's played well. So you got Ferreira, you got Georgie, you got Rothrock, you got Pedro, you got Kalani, who's playing higher up there. You got Paul Arriola, who's clearly going to be here and could play that winger position. He played it when for Brian here.
He was looking good there. He
looked good there, right? So there's just so much competition there that it just would make no sense to spend a real high amount on Ryan Kent for next season.
Nico, I was going to pull the table up here and maybe look at some theoretical playoff scenarios, but did you have anything else on either Jordan Morris and Albert Rusnak and what you saw from them, or just any other Seattle Sounders related topic before we do that?
No, I thought Steph was good. I did have that in my notes. I thought Steph that had a couple of really good saves, including one that I got really excited. I was helping on the call for Spanish radio, and it was a poster type of save there in the second half. That was pretty cool to see. But I thought that he held his own. I thought that neither of the goals were on him, and as much as I had mentioned, even going into this game, it's clear that Brian has made the decision that Steph is his number one, will continue to be his number one until he plays himself out of it. And I thought that he was very good. It was nice to see that, so we can kind of tone that thing down and just focus on that starting 11, just being that starting 11. But yeah, that's the only thing that I had additionally to it. The other things, obviously, I did, and I'm planning to put this up. It's in Spanish though, but I talked to Andres Cubas, and I thought it was interesting that he said that this felt like a playoff game, and that they expect to see the Sounders.
It was a good game. It was like a good game. I enjoyed watching it, and it was definitely like the entertainment value was there. And I guess that's if we're talking like general positives, I'm going to pull up the table, and I was just looking at their goals scored and conceded. But like, it has been nice this year that they've consistently played just like good, high level, productive, entertaining, attacking footy. It's come at the expense of more concessions, but I've said this before, but last year I said a lot of times that was a trade I was willing to make. Like if it means you concede a few more goals, but you're looking more dynamic in attack, you're scoring more goals, and it's more fun to watch, then like that's a trade that I will make. I think they've made too much of that trade maybe at times, but like this was a game last year where if they were afflicted with injuries and fixture congestion and all that stuff, that would have been a horrible game to watch. It would have been like pulling teeth. It would have been like the biggest struggle of all time to even generate one chance to get one goal. This team this year, one thing that I can appreciate about them is they're going to be going for it, and their level in attack is usually going to be pretty good, assuming they have roughly like their first choice personnel. And frankly, even when they've had to rotate and mix and match lineups and field these kind of ostensibly second choice 11s, they've done a pretty good job at maintaining their level. So that's something. But I'm going to pull up this table here, Nico, and let's look at where things stand in the Western Conference as we hit the sprint towards decision day. I mean, you see Seattle's here in 5th, and they do have the X by their name, which is kind of nice. They did clinch due to, I think it was because the Rapids dropped points. So Seattle is in the playoffs. They're going to the playoffs. That much is decided.
Certain.
But, yeah, that much is certain. But it looks like things are kind of taking shape here. I mean, you've got 7 points now separating you from LAFC in that 4th spot, and 9 points from Minnesota. It's just there's not a lot of games left to catch either of these teams. It just doesn't seem feasible at this point. To me, what it becomes a question of is who would, assuming that you stay in 5th, which is not guaranteed either, but assuming you do, which of these 4 teams would you want to play? Because I feel like this top 4 right here, that could between San Diego, Vancouver, Minnesota, and LAFC, this top 4 there could be some shuffling around there with how hot LAFC is, with Minnesota slowing down a little bit, San Diego slowing down a little bit. So it's like becomes a question of who you would want in that first round matchup if you're the 5, or I guess the 6 seed also could happen as well. Seattle could finish just like low as 7th theoretically, but
and they're lucky that hasn't happened. I mean, they really got to thank the Timbers for just dropping a couple of games, right? And there's draw after draw over there. Because if, let's say, beyond that Kamal Miller banger midweek, if Portland puts away any of the opportunities they had in that first half, and they end up beating Vancouver, man, that they would be ahead now. And then this one against Dallas just yesterday was also one that Dallas rescues in the 84th or something like that. But yeah, they're lucky that that's not the case already.
My other couple takeaways, I think when we're assessing this team's season as a whole to this point. I mean, this team has conceded 47 goals this year, Nico. Like that's too many. This was like the best defense in the league the last couple years, and that, I mean, 47. That's like a regression from that unit. It's the most out of any team in the top 7 you can see here. No one until you get to Colorado and San Jose in the wild card spots has conceded more in the West than that. They have scored 54 goals, which is great. That's let's see, you got San Diego 56, Vancouver 59, LAFC 60, but 54. That's a good total. They're probably going to be pushing 60 plus goals by the end of the year, which is awesome. But they're also going to concede 50 plus, man. That, and like what that has led to is 8-1-6 is a better home record than they had last year, and that's only taking 1 L at home. That's good, but these concessions have led to 6 draws at home, which is too many, and a 4-8-4 road record, which is below the standards that we are used to from this team. This team prides itself historically on traveling well, being a good road team, being the best teams in this league. The ones that actually contend for stuff are the ones that can win on the road, that can go on these really hard MLS road trips and take results. And take the benchmark I always set is like 5 to 7 road wins as a baseline. That's like what you really need to target, and then take care of business at home to feel good about home field advantage. 4-8-4, that's not I don't think any of them would tell you that that's good enough. And 47 goals from the defense also, that's how you end up scrapping for 5th and 6th place instead of home field advantage. And I think it is fair to, if they were to point out, like, look, some of these have come in situations where we were really going for it in Leagues Cup, and that probably cost us some points. Fair, but like that wasn't the case in the Charlotte game. That wasn't the case for the Colorado game. That wasn't really the case for the Atlanta game, was it? Like there was just a lot of games where this stuff afflicted them. And I realize it is a give and take. Like I was literally just saying, like if they're going to concede more goals at the expense of scoring a lot more and being more fun to watch, that is a trade-off I'm willing to make. But I think just looking at the table right here, it's just a little too extreme. Like if we're looking for the reasons why they are where they are on the table, it's not hard to see to me. It's this number right here, 47 conceded, and then 4-8-4 on the road, 6 home draws. That's how that happens. So any thoughts on any of that, Nico? I kind of cooked there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that for this team to do well in the playoffs, you got to get away from that. I mean, it's great that the team has been so great offensively, and I've actually, give a lot of kudos to Brian for reinventing himself. And I've said it again, although he will never admit it, that he's a defensive coach. He is, and this team has just been better, and that was the purpose at the beginning of the year. And they tried a whole bunch of things, and they moved around a lot of options, and they've been able to do it and put it together and be a more attacking team that's on the front foot, that has a lot of has a lot of volume of play, which is very important in terms of just being a team that's exciting to watch over. But you need to play good defense. You need to be able to just hold down games when it comes to the playoffs. That's why you asked me which of these teams I want phase, and I don't know if I want any of them, and it's that's difficult. And if anything, maybe Minnesota, just because they've kind of cooled down a little bit.
That's what I was going to say. They've cooled down, and all right, man. Like I've been banging this drum for weeks that I don't like this Minnesota team. They rub me the wrong way. I don't like how they play footy. I don't like it. Bothers me. These you look at their record, 15-7-10. With a plus 15 goal differential and 1.7 points per game. You can't knock it. You can't knock it for being effective. But I don't like it. I don't like how they play those tactics, even when they're at home. I didn't like how they played that game against Seattle, even though they won. They did their thing. They did their anti-possession thing and got their goal on a set piece, and they scraped out a 1-0 win at home. But I've been skeptical that you can win a trophy like that. They didn't win US Open Cup like that. And I really think that, I know Minnesota got them in that game, but like Seattle, I feel like played them pretty well. Like, and it was when they played them in Seattle, they didn't know how to play against that team at all. Like they really struggled to adjust to the kind of novel tactics that Minnesota United throw at you. And then it felt like in the game in Minnesota, Seattle kind of threw some exaggerated tactics of their own to counter Minnesota's exaggerated tactics. And it just became this really weird game where it was a lot of Seattle knocking the ball around and getting pretty good chances, but not finishing. And then Minnesota, like I said, nicks the set piece goal. But if I'm looking at these 4 teams, that's the team that I want. I think they can. I don't know. I think they can beat that team. I don't know if they will beat that team, but I think if I had to pick any of them to match up against in the first round in a theoretical 4-5 matchup, that would be the one I would pick, because the rest of these teams are like they play more real soccer, and they San Diego, Vancouver, and LAFC all have pretty high-powered offenses that are difficult to contend with as a road team. And we'll talk about LAFC in a second, but they look absolutely insane right now. So
yeah,
I
look,
want no part of that.
I think we can all be pretty honest with each other and say that we just don't want LAFC. I mean, that is the team that you do not want to deal with anytime, early or later on. You're going to have to play them at some point if you make a run. But 17 goals out of Son and Bouanga. The last 17 goals for LAFC came from that duo. That is crazy. Like, that is something that I heard last night, and I had to go back and watch it because it was just crazy. And it's true, man. They're such a good team when it comes to playing counter ball. You cannot give them the smallest giveaway turnover at midfield, because they'll be in front of your porch in 2.5 seconds. Son's just good in so many ways, like finishing, passing, elaborating, link up play, his dribbling skills. I mean, the guy has been unreal. 8 goals already. Like, are you kidding me for Song? I mean, this LAFC team is running red hot. That's the team that you don't want. But going back to what I was saying, Minnesota has cooled down. They've only won 1 out of the last 5, and they've actually given up 8 goals in those 5 games, including the US Open Cup final, of course. But to me, then I still have some PTSD of the times that the Sounders cannot break down deep block setups. And so that's why I don't know. I guess if I had to pick, I go with Minnesota in the hope that their block breaks down within itself, and that you can get an early goal, and that makes them open up a little bit. But this type of soccer has been the kryptonite for the Sounders this season.
It's everyone's kryptonite. That's the thing. Like people are saying Seattle can't break down a low block. I mean, when you're playing it that exaggerated, like they play it, that it makes it hard for LAFC. If LAFC have to play them in the playoffs, I bet even this demonic Son Bouanga duo would have trouble breaking their. They don't keep the ball at all, ever. So like, it just makes it inherently difficult task.
Yeah, and St. Clair's such a good goalkeeper, and Boxall's such a good defender. I don't know. Like I said, I take it, but man, the Sounders really did themselves a disservice by being where they are in the table, man, because you should be hoping that you got the Timbers or Colorado or San Jose, these teams coming in, but now you don't. And now you're kind of stuck playing the best of the best. Now, can that be good? And they always say you're going to have to play the best to just get anywhere.
You're going to have to do it anyway. You're going to have to do it anyway.
So get it out of the way early. Maybe, I guess you could kind of.
That's how I'm spinning it. Yeah. You want one of these teams in the top 4 early on the road, because then you get the hard stuff out of the way. Maybe root for a little upset. Hope that the San Jose Earthquakes or the Colorado Rapids go on a run. Maybe you get to host them. But I mean, there is an honest reality that if you're gonna make a run in the playoffs, you're gonna have to beat these teams. And to that point, Ari,
this is once again one of the things that Seattle has done well this season is whenever you think they're out, they force themselves in, right? When they play with a chip on their shoulder, when nobody's giving them the benefit of the doubt, they're going to get murdered, they're going to get beat. That's when they play their best ball.
That's what they need. That's what they need to find their. And if they don't have those stakes on it, then they're basically the team we've been watching the last few games, which is a team that can score some goals, but concedes too many to play at more than like a 1.5 points per game pace. You put this team, I should learn. Everyone should learn by now to never bet against this team come tournament time. It hasn't mattered historically. Like everyone's talking about how it's already chalked because they have to go on the road. I've seen this team go on the road and take some pretty insane results. I saw them go on the road in 2019 and beat an LAFC team that I think this LAFC team might be better like right now than that team, but that team was insane. They had that team that year had Carlos Vela score 34 goals, 15 assists, 49 goal contributions. That team had a plus 48 goal differential. If this LAFC team this year is better right now than that team, it's not by much. It's probably a wash. Like that was one of the best teams in MLS history. Seattle had to go on the road in that game. No one gave them a chance, myself included. I went to that game like pretty positive that I was going to watch that LAFC team whoop up on Seattle, and Seattle beat the shit out of them 3-1 in their own building and won the Western Conference title. So there is precedent for them thriving in situations where their backs are seemingly against the wall. And, maybe that's another good narrative to go with, Nico. They need the chip on their shoulder. That's why they dropped the points, Nico. That's why they dropped the points, so they could give themselves that chip and incentivize it themselves to make a playoff run and get some more legendary results. But honestly, I mean, just looking at this as it stands right now, it's gonna take a Herculean effort for this team to make it to MLS Cup this year, Nico. It really is. Not to say they can't do it. It's not to say they can't do it. It's definitely we shouldn't put anything past a Brian Schmetzer coach team in come tournament time. But it's certainly the unfortunate thing is they could have made it a lot easier on themselves by just closing out like any group of these 5 or 6 games that we've talked about. If they had even just closed out 3 or 4 of them, that they were literally like 30 seconds, in some cases less than that, away from taking those points and then dropping them. So that's where things stand. I mean,
it is. And look, I know that the last time we talked about this, it kind of sounded like I was already reading the Sounders obituary, into like the playoffs, and that, it was kind of tough. And it is tough. I stand by the fact that you got your title, the title that you needed here in 2025. And this playoff run is probably as hard as it's ever been. And now with these injuries that I think they're going to be a kind of colossal reasoning into whether we stick with what we've said today or not. Because if any of this Alex and Riemar and even Pedro's situations is bad enough, that it just completely adds on to the fact that the Sounders are going to have a hard time in this playoff run. But obviously you can't dismiss it. You can't dismiss a team with the talent that they have, with the experience that they have, with a Brian Smith knows exactly what to do in these sort of situations. But there are a lot of external circumstances that could really affect the chances that they have. And I feel like there are few that they're going to go to the Western Conference final, and even less that they're going to go to the MLS Cup final. Obviously they're there, but injuries can really, really, really bring those down even farther, depending on what we hear this week.
The playoffs, I really believe the playoffs are house money. And I know some people don't like that take. You can call it preemptive cope if you want. I don't care. The way I see it, there are you earn the right to call the playoffs house money by winning one of 2 tournaments, CONCACAF Champions Cup or Leagues Cup. That's the reality. If you win one of those 2 tournaments, that is the only scenario if you told me before the season, like what could if you asked me before the season, what could the Seattle Sounders do to make the playoffs house money this year? I would say probably nothing, but if they win CONCACAF Champions League or CONCACAF Champions Cup or Leagues Cup, that would be the way to do it, because you already have a major international continental trophy. And in this case, I think how they did it, really, you got to take that into account. That was the most amazing game I've ever covered. That was a fantastic experience for everyone that was at the stadium and for everyone who watched it. Those types of games, those types of moments, that's why we all do this stuff. That's why we watch every single one of these games and follow this team obsessively every day of the year, day in, day out, is the chase of stuff like that. If you deliver that type of stuff for the city and for the fan base, you earn the right to say, look, like, obviously we're going to try in the playoffs and we're going to put our best foot forward for an MLS Cup run. But if it doesn't happen, that's GG's. We had one of the best games in club history. We took home a major trophy. We completed the trophy case. We played some pretty incredible attacking soccer for a lot of it. And playoff run might have been disappointing, but it is what it is. And they earn the right to be able to say that by competing in these international tournaments, making runs in those tournaments, and winning them. If they were to give an organizational line to the effect of what I just said, I wouldn't argue with it. Like, that is the right in the status that you earn by performing how they did in a tournament like that. I know, like, a lot of people are going to say that Leagues Cup, it doesn't count because it's Leagues Cup and it's a made up tournament or whatever. It's just a cash grab. I don't respect it as a real trophy. That's cope. That is cope. That's just looking for a reason to discount something because you want to be able to perpetuate your narrative that, like, Craig Weibel is terrible or it's the worst team of all time or whatever the case may be. But if they get bounced out of the playoffs this year by LAFC or Vancouver or whoever it is, then that doesn't really, it honestly doesn't change how I feel about the season that much. Like, an MLS Cup run would be icing on what was already a pretty good cake. I mean, do you agree with that, or are you in the MLS Cup or bust mentality still?
No, of course not. No, I said that before, quite a few times. And honestly, it's an inaccurate statement to say that it doesn't count or it's not real. I mean, the fact is that this is an international tournament. It gives you a spot for CONCACAF Champions League, and it adds on the fact that you get a bye week, a lot of prize money. So that's the reality. Now, we can all have opinions, so whether we like it or not, or dislike it, or whatever it is that your assumptions are made in terms of this tournament. But the reality is that they won a title, right? And I know that everyone wants this team to be the top of the league. The domestic play is so important, has always been for this fan base. And look, I get it. It's a lot more difficult to do, specifically in a year like this one, where we just talked about the exhaustion level that, you've put a lot of coins into the Leagues Cup and that kind of hurts you a little bit. But you're trying to work it out. You're trying to rotate. You're trying to do all these things. But this type of setup for the playoffs is just difficult, man. This format is difficult. Coming out of the West is difficult, and I've said it time and time again. I think that, with the exception of LAFC, the East is probably going to take the cup this year. I mean, whether it's Cincy or whether it's Orlando has been the team that I always call that they're going to get a title, and they never do. They always disappoint me at some point, but they look so good as well. But I think the East just has the teams that could essentially take the MLS Cup. So it's just difficult to do. But obviously, the Sounders should, if this was a year where there was no title and the only thing that this team did was clinch the playoffs, I would be on that. This was not a successful year.
Yeah, they played at 1.5 points per game on the league table right now. If they had not won Leagues Cup and they were in 5th place at 1.5 points per game, and they didn't have that silverware to show for anything, then it would be a bust of a year. But they do have the silverware to show for it. They have arguably the greatest game in club history to show for it. They have a trophy-winning final over Lionel Messi and the Barca boys, who crashed out and started a massive brawl after the game. to show for it. You can't tell me that doesn't carry a lot of weight. Even if you want to go with the Leagues Cup doesn't count narrative, it counts for all the prize money that they got. It counts for the CONCACAF Champions Cup spot that they got. It counts for the bye that they have now in CONCACAF Champions Cup next year that they got. So like it does count for all that stuff, like as a matter of fact. So that's that's where I'm at with it. Nico, how are you feeling about this Timbies game? What do you think of these guys right now? They're at 1.38 points per game, 11, 10, and 11 record, -2 goal differential. Nico, this is not that good of a team. Not that good of a team. They're, like I said, negative goal differential, a lot of draws, 4, 7, and 5 on the road. I will tell you, that does not matter. The Portland Timbies live for these games. This is their Super Bowl. They don't care about winning any cup, but besides maybe the Cascadia Cup, which the Vancouver Whitecaps won this year. The Timbies don't care about MLS Cup. They don't care about Leagues Cup. They don't care about CONCACAF Champions Cup. They don't care about US Open Cup. You got a cup. They don't want the cup. They want to specifically beat the Seattle Sounders. That is the driving purpose of their entire organization. And as such, we all know every time that the Portland Timbies play against the Seattle Sounders, they come out of the locker room playing like Real Portland Timbers Madrid. Okay. And they're going to do that in this game. The reason this rivalry has been pretty one-sided in their direction in recent years, it's not because they're that good. It's because they bring the requisite energy and intensity for derby matches like this. They are going to do that in this game. They are going to come out firing. It doesn't matter that it's in Seattle. They play better in Seattle than they do at Providence Park. When Seattle's gotten results against them in the last couple of years, it's been at Providence Park. The Timbies, the greatest win in the history of their club was not the 2015 MLS Cup that they won. It was when Seattle hung up the CCC banner in 2022, right before the Timbers game to rub it in their faces. And then the Timbies won 3-0 at Lumen Field on CONCACAF Champions Cup banner day. That was the pinnacle of that. That was the pinnacle of their existence. So they're going to be treating this game like that. They're not about the implications of it for playoff seeding or anything else. They're about beating the Seattle Sounders, and it's just, I don't want to, I guess what I'm saying is I just don't want to see a situation where, a derby game, the result can go either way. You might tie this game, you might lose this game, but don't let it be a thing where, remember a couple years ago when Schmetz went off on the players and the staff for being like, is this are we talking about a rivalry right now? Like, we just lost this game. I got guys in the locker room yucking it up afterwards, acting like nothing happened. Like, no, this is Portland. Like, you got to be, it has to hurt your soul if you lose a game like this. That's what this type of game means to this club. And he was pissed. And that was the most I've ever, after a Schmetz presser, been like, yeah, truth to power, brother. Like, because Schmetz is someone who will never undersell the intensity of a match like this. But for a while, like, the Sounders just were not living up to that. That's the main thing I want to see in this game, even though I'm going to be out of town and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch live. But like, just whatever the result is, it's whatever. I'm not even at this point, I don't even care about the league table that much, other than maybe getting a better matchup for the first round or whatever. But like, it's about process over results right now. Play at a high level and just match their energy, man. Just don't let the Timbies come in here and look like the home team. That's happened too many times in these games the last few years. And so if that doesn't happen, that's like step one to a positive performance. Kenny coming in with the $1.99, first super chat of the show, hour and 13 minutes in. We love to see it. Thanks.
Here we go. Here we go. Let's get some
he
up.
Says F Timbies up the Soundies. Yeah. Good point, Kenny. Good point. Well said. Nico, what do you think about this match with the Timbies?
Well, first of all, I want to know what the chat thinks. When you guys are a little bit quiet today, let's get going and see. Are you guys confident? Are you guys not confident against the Timbers?
Predictions, confidence levels, chat. What do you got?
Yeah, I just want to check the vibes. It's just biometer. But look, I myself have concerns, and they're all related to the fact that Alex and Yamar are not going to be available for this game.
Yeah, it's not
that's just my conclusion. Early opinion, estimated guess.
No, they're neither of them.
There's no way, right? So I'm very concerned because as much as this Portland team isn't great because they lack balance, they honestly lack a little bit of finishing, but they create a lot of opportunities. I've watched the last two games, both the Vancouver game where I said, look, they outshot Vancouver like 14-7 or something like that. And in the first half, they created a bunch of opportunities. I think Anthony's very capable. I think Kelsey is a little bit sporadic in when he shows up, but when he does, he shows up big. If Mora, who has given headaches to the Sounders time and time again, is feeling himself, that's a difficult player to handle. I think Matias Rojas has provided this team with a guy that's creative, that can kill mid-range shots, that's very good on set pieces. Mosquera is a guy that on the overloads on that side that, is going to be him and Nuhu, which is always great to have a guy like Nuhu there. But if they end up switching him around or they end up trying to push on the side of Kalani, I think that this team could create a lot of overloads, right? I think Anthony, to me, is the most talented player on that team. That's the player that I'd be looking for beyond the Costa, right? I think that what Anthony does on the ball, he's so creative. He can beat you at any moment. He has magic at his feet. So this is not a bad attacking team. And
no, they're pretty good at attacking team. They've been kind of XG merchants this year, but the Timbies are always a really good counterattacking, chance generating, goal scoring team. Shutting them out, even with that, they're gonna probably get a couple. Like, I'll tell you guys that right now. Like
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
They don't get shut out against Seattle. It doesn't happen.
That's what I was gonna say. I think that you're gonna have to outscore Portland. And I hate to say that because people probably don't want to hear that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's going to be a fun game, but I think you're going to have to outscore Portland because Portland will get a couple or will make it a difficult game in that regard. So Seattle's offense, the responsibility is on them. It's going to be on Ferreira. It's going to be on Jordan Morris. Hopefully Pedro de la Vega, Albert Rusnak. Those are the guys that are going to have to really shine against the Timbers because you got to go against this team. You can't allow them to just hold possession. You can't allow them to just get on top of you. I love what you said in terms of the Sounders need to be the protagonists right off the bat, right off the first whistle. Physicality, intensity. You got to. If you get hopefully you don't get a yellow, but if you get a real big, strong challenge to start that game off, to set the tempo,
get a yellow,
Paul Rothrock, whatever. I want to see it.
Don't get a red. Get a yellow.
Don't get a red.
Don't get a red.
But I want to see it. You're going to have to create your own tempo. You're going to have to create your intensity, and that's a huge part of this game because if you allow the Timbers to get comfortable and settle into this game, it could be a long afternoon. So for me, the Sounders are going to have to just sit in the middle of the ring and just exchange. Obviously, you hope that the team balances out and you can, play some really good defense and maybe you start JP in this one. I don't know. Maybe you do something a little bit different there at midfield next to Christian Roldan, but wherever it is, I think you're going to have to be able to outscore this Timbers team.
Lineup builder to close it out. That's what the people want, Nico. So let's bust it out. We got a few minutes left, so we will do our official Lobbing Scorchers projected starting 11. What do you got, Nico? I think the goalkeeper controversy, I think, is pretty much settled at this point. It's going to be Stephanie Fry.
Mm-hmm.
I think the left side here is going to be the same, but obviously these two are going to be out. So I'm going to put KKR in there at right back. And then, do you see any other outcome than Kim Keehee for the Yamar replacement?
Nope. I think it's Kim Keehee. It's going to be Kim Keehee and Jackson, no doubt in my mind. Unless there's, any sort of knock or something, which I don't think.
Why do I always... There he is.
Okay. And Kim's a guy that, if there is something about Kim is that he really does feel the badge. And I like that for this specific game. I think he is a guy that can get physical, that can be, strong challenges. It's a player that I think embeds this rivalry, and I think he's going to be able to just do it well.
What do you think about the double pivot? Do you run Snyder B again? I think you kind of have to, don't you?
I think you have to. You have to. The JP thing is obviously something that he's going to have to build his fitness. He hasn't played. Way. Yeah, no, 100%. He's going to have to be. You really don't have any other options there other than Snyder. So I think it's Snyder and Christian, no doubt about that.
Send him back out there. Send the kid back out there. Throw him into the fire. I know it's tough for his initial foray into Major League Soccer, being in these high stakes moments like this. That's how you learn, right? That's how you get better. So
yeah, absolutely.
I know he made a mistake in the last game, but he's been playing pretty well. He's been playing really well, and this is just another opportunity for him to get some valuable experience. So I think that looks good for that back six there. What do you think about the front four? Do you think it's going to be Jordan or Moose starting this game? I think it low key should be Moose, but it was Jordan in the last game. What do you think?
I think it'll be Jordan. I was, like I said, I was surprised that he started that game, but him starting that game tells me that that's what they want to see moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Jordan up top.
All right. Would you change anything in this bandit three right here? I think this is probably going to be it. Rothrock, Rusnak, Ferreira. You got any changes there?
Man, let's leave it. I would love to see Pedro there for Paul, but
until I see Pedro
point,
play, I'm not going to put him in there.
I agree.
I think you could argue Georgie would be. If Georgie's not going to start this game, give him at least 30. Give him at least 30.
Agreed.
So he actually has like a chance to make a
get in this game.
In the game. Because that's one guy who I definitely don't fault for how things have been going lately. Like I feel like every time Georgie's been out there, he's been doing his thing. And he's just a handful. And in a game like this, where the Timbies are going to be coming at you, it's good to have a guy like that who can put other teams under pressure the way that Georgie can. But
look, they've been playing Kamal Miller kind of like a right back, and to me, putting Georgia on that side on tire legs, I mean that's a matchup I want every single time. So yes, I would love to see Georgia in this game. I love to see Georgia and Pedro enter this game and be successful there. But I agree with you on Georgie. Let's give him some flowers because he's been really impulsive. He's been really influential every time he gets on the ball. He's a handful. He's getting grabbed on. He's getting pushed. Defenders have a real hard time understanding his dribbling setup, right? He's a little bit unorthodox sometimes the way he gets through defenders, but he does it so successfully that it doesn't quite matter. And I think he's getting better defensively, positionally wise, at least. He tries to get there. He might not be as effective as Pedro there, but I think that he's starting to really get and understand the triggers for pressure. And so, I've been very impressed with Georgie.
All right, there you have it. That is the official Lobbing Scorchers projected starting 11 for Seattle's upcoming match this weekend, Cascadia Derby against the Portland Timbies at Lumen Field. I'm not going to be there for it, but hopefully I'll get to watch, and we'll be covering it. Noah said he would at least run the post-match, which will hopefully go better than it did for this last game when if any of you tried to tune into that, there was some internet connectivity issues at Lumen Field that seemed to resolve themselves later on in the show, but that was that was not fun. Hopefully that's not an issue for you all this weekend. Like I said, I'm not going to be there, but we're going to call it right there. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, give me 1 second, Nari. 1 second.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm wrapping it up. So, but you got to come back and say goodbye, Nico. But thank you as always, everyone, for tuning in to another.
I wanted to thank Tim Hamilton. He sent me this right here for my birthday. Tim Hamilton is a huge Sounder fan. He is
what is that?
A guy
is that tequila?
Yes, tequila is Los Centenario, the Leagues Cup edition. Which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna keep that there here. Just I won't drink it. I'm gonna try to keep it as long as we can as a decoration there, and let it get older. But I wanted to thank Tim Hamilton. I want to thank everybody that sent stuff for my birthday and messages and everything. The audience has been outstanding, and I've been forgetting to thank Tim on the show, and I wanted to do that.
Shout out Tim Hamilton. That's awesome. Kenny closing us out with another $1.99. Appreciate you, Kenny. He says, is KKR better with Jesus than Alex? Maybe I hadn't really. I think KKR in general is a little more dynamic in attack than Alex. I don't know if he and Ferreira necessarily like combine better, but in general, if I'm looking for a fullback to get a goal or an assist, I'll take KKR. If I'm looking for someone to lock it down defensively, I'll take Alex.
I think Alex and Ferreira match a little bit better, and I think that their high levels of soccer IQ kind of fit, and they move around each other very well. The overlaps seem to work pretty good. But Kalani, he does a lot of things, as you said, with his athleticism, with his push, with his drive. So they're a little bit different there. But I do think that Alex fits better with Ferreira. But at the same time, Ferreira is a very cerebral player that can match up with just about anybody.
All right, I gotta run. We gotta get out of here on that. Thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, not going to be there for post match this weekend. And also, Nico, I mean, I hadn't talked to you about it, but no kickoff next Monday. I'm not going to be in the city of Seattle. So sorry, guys. I just, I'm going to be out from the 2nd to the 6th, fully out. So you're not going to see me, but I'll be back after that. We're going to tackle the stretch run of the season and the playoffs. Looking forward to it. Thank you all, as always, for the support. Really appreciate you guys and everything that you do to make this show go. And I will catch you all when I'm back on like October 7th or whatever. Enjoy the game this weekend. And until next time, we out. Peace.
Some people come to Lumen Field for the tactics, for the soccer, the atmosphere. And some come for Paul Rothrock's hair. Me personally, I come for both, because I have agendas to push. Live soccer isn't just better, it's way more personal. From making friends to becoming the guy in your section that's just constantly yelling about advanced statistics. Get tickets to any Sounders match by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/tickets. You support the pod, our agendas, the vibes, and the chaos.